My beloved brothers and sisters, I testify of angels, both the heavenly and the mortal kind. In doing so, I am testifying that God never leaves us alone, never leaves us unaided in the challenges that we face, nor will He so long as time shall last.
We as women, at all times in our lives, feel overwhelmed and bombarded with the daily things in life. And there was a time in my life when I was just overwhelmed, and my husband was in Oregon and he was basically working there, and we were living in Arizona, and I had 4 little kids, and I just felt the weight of the world, and I was trying to do the best I could as a mom. And I felt alone and that it just wasn't quite good enough. And I don't remember particularly what was going on that day, but as the day went on and I was exhausted and I finally got my little kids down to bed, there was a knock at the door. And as I opened the door, there was one of my dearest friends who's also my visiting teacher. And she had in her hand a QT Dr. Pepper. And I remember just thinking, like, well, what is this? And she said, you know, I really don't know. I just felt like I should swing by and bring this to you. And at that moment, I remember being overwhelmed with emotion because I knew that it was my Heavenly Father letting me know that He was mindful of me and that He cared about me and He knew what I was going through. And I'm so grateful for her and appreciative of her that she was in a place where she could be inspired to follow His direction and be a little messenger for Him.
On occasions, global or personal, we may feel we're distanced from God, shut out from heaven, lost, alone in dark and dreary places. Often enough, that distress can be of our own making. But even then, the Father of us all is watching and assisting. And always there are those angels who come and go all around us, seen and unseen, known and unknown, mortal and immortal.
So in March of this year, we had a pipe burst in our kitchen and a flooding in our house. And the first time that I was aware that the ward knew about it was when I went to ward council. And Roxanne Pruitt and I were talking, and she said, oh my gosh, you had a flood. And I'm like, yeah, we did. And I said, wait, how did you know that? And I looked down and it was on the ward council agenda. And I was embarrassed that we were going to talk about the Tuttle flood. And they said, let's have a sign up for people that they could go around to their house and eat dinner with people at their house. And I was like, no, nobody wants us and our 5 kids at their house. But they were serious. And we went to the Grover's house for a family home evening. And we didn't have a kitchen at that point. We didn't have any food. And for my kids to see that a family would invite us over instead of not just drop off a meal, we went, it meant a lot to all of us. And I wondered to myself, am I that kind of person? I want to be that kind of person.
It touched me because if you just change one thing, it can make a difference in someone's life, like a lot.
What would you tell somebody your age who's going through something that's kind of scary, like what you felt?
Well, if someone else in my age went through that, I would feel bad for them, but if someone came over and helped them, I would feel good.
The flood it wasn't that big of a deal, you know. It set us back a little bit and it distracted our lives, but there were so many great lessons that came out of it. The outpouring from the ward, from, you know, the Whitings and from the Merceds and Grovers and everybody that, you know, offered up food for us, the Johnsons immediately bringing us over meals and coordinating everything. I mean, that was overwhelming, but one of the things that really struck home for me was, you know, the Ashbys opened up their trailer or opened up their garage and said, you know, whatever you need to throw in here, go ahead. And the Carrolls said, hey, we've got plenty of room. Here's our trailer and our garage. And, so I'm taking the kids around with me to all these different places, and we're spreading our house out equally between the locker room and the Ashby's house and the Carroll's house. And, I think it was the kids were kind of confused, like, why are we putting all of our stuff at all of the different people's houses? And, it was pretty simple, and it was a great opportunity just to say, you know what, this is what nice people do when you need help.
When I think back to our house fire a few months ago, I can't help but think of all the many blessings that we've received at the hand of the Lord, and there were so many tender mercies that were administered to us by others. One thing that I really came to understand is that the Lord's timing is impeccable. Before we could even anticipate a need, we were blessed by those around us, from the rebuild of our home to going and purchasing our temple garments for us, to dinners for our families, calls just to check on us and see how we were doing. There were so many little small acts of service that were rendered to our family that just helped us to know that the Lord was mindful of us and aware of our needs. There were a few that in particular that stand out in my mind. As I arrived at the scene of the fire, the first thing that I saw were the faces of our ward members and family members that were just filled with love and compassion. And it was such a comfort to me to have all of them there. Another thing was that same night, our 14-year-old neighbor boy came up to me and said, what can I do for you? I'm available on Saturday and I'm willing to do anything you need for me to do. And as I looked into his face, I could tell that he was sincere, and it touched my heart that he was so willing to serve and help our family. The next thing I remember is the morning after the fire, Robert and I had gone to the hardware store and got rubber boots and masks so that we could walk through our home and see what damage had been done. And it was a pretty emotional time for both of us to go through and see what we would be able to save and what we had to discard. And after we finished, we went out on our back porch and we were sitting on our porch swing, kind of feeling sorry for ourselves, and we were just really emotional. And just around the corner came one of our friends, and she just walked over and gave each of us a hug and handed us a card, and she just said, I want you to know that our family really loves you and we were willing to do anything we can for you. And it just touched our hearts that she just acted on the prompting that she'd received to come over and see us that morning, because no one really even knew, if we were going to be there or not. And right then it just made me realize that that's the kind of person that I wanted to be, someone that just acted on the promptings and went and served those in need. Not once through this whole experience have we ever felt alone. We've always felt the Lord and our Heavenly Father with us, and know that our friends and ward members were with us as well. We were strengthened and uplifted by all the prayers on our behalf. And it's strengthened our testimony of service and the love that our Heavenly Father has for us.
May we all believe more readily in and have more gratitude for the Lord's promise as contained in one of President Monson's favorite scriptures. I will go before your face. I will be on your right hand and on your left. My spirit shall be in your heart, and mine angels round about you to bear you up.